Hello, welcome back to the channel, and I am telling you right now, put down whatever you are holding, because what just happened between Jimin and Jungkook on that stage at MetLife Stadium is the kind of moment that breaks the internet in real time. The kind of moment that makes 82,000 people scream in unison. The kind of moment that ARMY has been waiting years, literally years, to witness again. Because this was not just a concert, this was Jimin and Jungkook taking over. Rutherford with a chemistry so unmatched, so electric, so undeniably real, that even casual fans who wandered in not knowing much about BTS walked out of that stadium as certified Jikook believers. I mean it. Stick with me for the next few minutes because I am about to walk you through exactly what happened, moment by moment, why it mattered so much, why the internet is losing its collective mind over it right now, and why this single night at MetLife might end up being remembered as one of the most important nights of the entire Arirang World Tour. So let's set the scene properly, because context is everything here. This was Saturday, August the 1st, 2026, at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, a venue that holds more than 82,000 people on a good night. And on this particular night, every single seat was packed, every single voice was ready, because BTS was back, fully back. All 7 members together on one stage for the first time on this scale since they finished their mandatory military service. Think about that for a second. RM, Jeon, SUGA, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook standing together again, performing together again, after years of solo journeys, years of waiting, years of ARMY holding on to hope that this exact scene would happen. And it happened. It happened big. But here is the twist that nobody was fully prepared for, because just under 2 weeks before this MetLife show, the world had already seen Jimin absolutely dominate the World Cup final halftime show, sharing a stage with Madonna, Shakira, Coldplay, and Justin Bieber, wearing a soccer-inspired outfit with the number 7 on it, a tribute to both Sonyeondan and to BTS itself, and rocking long blonde hair that had fans everywhere losing their minds. That performance alone was massive. That performance alone had think pieces written about it, had trending hashtags for days. And now, barely 2 weeks later, Jimin walks back onto that very same MetLife turf, except this time the hair has shifted into stunning gray tones, giving him what fans are calling a princely aura, a look so striking that people in the crowd were reportedly gasping the second the spotlight hit him. Somehow, through 2.5 hours of non-stop performing, dancing, singing, and sweating under stadium lights, that hair stayed shiny, stayed bodied, stayed absolutely flawless. And if you know anything about concerts, you know how rare that actually is. Now let's get to the real reason you clicked on this video. Because yes, the hair was iconic. Yes, the outfit was stunning. But what truly set social media on fire that night was the chemistry between Jimin and Jungkook specifically. These two have a history that ARMY has followed for over a decade, a closeness that has been documented since their trainee days. And on this particular night, that closeness was on full display in a way that felt different, felt heavier, felt more meaningful than just 2 members having fun on stage. Throughout the night, during the songs handled by the vocal line, Jeon, V, Jimin, and Jungkook, it was Jungkook who kept floating in these incredible, almost effortless ad-libs over the choruses, little vocal runs, little flourishes, the kind of thing that reminds you exactly why he is considered the group's golden magne, the youngest member with arguably one of the most powerful instruments in the entire industry. And every single time Jungkook let one of those ad-libs fly, cameras caught Jimin reacting, catching his eye, sharing that unmistakable look that longtime fans immediately recognize. That look of 2 people who have performed together for over a decade and still manage to surprise each other, still manage to feed off each other's energy like it is the most natural thing in the world. If you have followed this channel for a while, you know I do not exaggerate this kind of thing without receipts, so let me paint the picture even more clearly. Picture the stadium lights shifting into warm gold and violet tones. Picture the massive in-the-round stage built specifically for this tour, so that literally every section of the stadium gets a clear view of all 7 members no matter where they are standing. And in the middle of all of that spectacle, in the middle of choreography and pyrotechnics and a crowd screaming lyrics back at the top of their lungs, there is this smaller, quieter thread running through the whole night, the thread of Jimin and Jungkook constantly finding each other, Whether it was a shared glance during a transition, a synchronized movement that clearly was not scripted that tightly, or Jungkook adjusting his vocals specifically to play off whatever Jimin was doing in that moment, the two of them were operating on a wavelength that only years and years of shared stages can build. This is not something choreographers can fake. This is not something a producer can script into a set list. This is the kind of connection that comes from genuinely knowing another person inside and out, from trusting them completely on stage, from having grown up together inside one of the most intense spotlights in the entire world. An ARMY noticed immediately. Within minutes of clips starting to circulate online, timelines were flooded, and I mean flooded, with fans dissecting every single frame, slowing down footage, zooming into expressions, comparing this moment to older, iconic Jikook moments from years past. Some fans were calling it one of the sweetest interactions of the entire tour so far. Others were saying it reminded them exactly why this specific duo has such a massive, dedicated following within the broader BTS fandom. A following that has spent years cataloging these small, genuine interactions because they consistently feel less like fan service and more like two best friends simply existing in front of an audience that happens to be enormous. The comment sections under every single clip were an absolute war zone of heart emojis, all caps screaming, and fans tagging their friends telling them they needed to see this immediately. Let me also tell you about the specific song moments where this energy peaked, because fans have already started timestamping the exact seconds where Jimin and Jungkook seemed most locked into each other. During one of the higher energy tracks from the vocal line set, the kind of song built around call and response vocals, Jungkook apparently leaned into an extended run right at the tail end of a chorus, holding a note just a beat longer than rehearsed, and instead of the moment feeling awkward or off, Jimin adjusted his own phrasing on the spot to let that extra beat land perfectly, almost like the two of them were reading each other's minds in real time. Fans in the front sections captured this on their phones immediately, and by the time the show ended, that specific 15-second clip had already been reposted thousands of times with captions calling it one of the most spontaneous, most genuine vocal moments of the entire tour so far. That is the kind of thing that separates rehearsed choreography from actual chemistry, because you cannot fake that kind of split-second musical trust unless you have spent years building it together. There was also a smaller, quieter moment that a lot of casual viewers might have missed entirely if they were not watching closely. Right during a costume transition, where the members briefly walked past each other visible only through the stadium's side screens for a few seconds. In that brief window, fans sitting close to the screens noticed the two of them exchanging a quick word and a laugh. A tiny, almost automatic exchange that barely lasted 2 seconds. But it was enough for eagle-eyed fans to catch it, scream about it, and immediately start filming their own reactions to it. Within an hour, fan cams focused entirely on that 2-second clip were already circulating with tens of thousands of views, proving once again that with this specific duo, it is never really about grand gestures. It is about these small, almost invisible habits built from over a decade of simply being around each other constantly. Now, let's talk about why this moment landed so hard emotionally, because context really does change everything here. This was not a random Tuesday. This was the second North American leg of a tour that only exists because all 7 members finished their military service and chose, deliberately, to come back together as a full group. Think about everything that had to happen for this exact night to exist. Think about years of separate schedules, separate solo albums, separate countries, separate lives, and then the moment where they all stood back on one stage and framed the night, repeatedly, as the true beginning of this new chapter together. RM himself addressed the crowd directly that night, telling everyone that whatever comes next, he wants to stay positive, that he will never take this love for granted, before blowing a kiss to the entire stadium. That is the emotional temperature of the room we are talking about. That is the atmosphere Jimin and Jungkook were performing inside of, a night soaked in gratitude, nostalgia, and pure unfiltered joy at simply being back together. And there is another layer to this that fans in the stadium clearly understood, even if the members themselves did not address it directly on stage. Just days before this MetLife show, BTS had made headlines with their decision to opt out of submitting music to the upcoming Grammy Awards, a decision that immediately triggered a massive wave of ARMY mobilization online. with fans pushing songs like Aliens up the iTunes charts in a show of loyalty and support that dominated entertainment news cycles. That story was still very much alive in the background of this concert. And even though the members kept the MetLife show itself lighthearted and celebratory, ARMY made sure their voices were heard anyway, sending messages onto the stadium jumbotron throughout the night that referenced exactly how they felt about the whole situation. So when you watch Jimin and Jungkook sharing these small, sweet, unmistakably genuine moments in the middle of all of that noise, all of that industry drama swirling around them, it hits differently. It feels like a reminder that underneath everything, underneath the headlines and the charts and the award show politics, these are still 7 guys who love performing together, who love making each other laugh on stage, who love this specific bond that has carried them through more than a decade of global superstardom. Let's slow down for a second and really talk about why Jikook specifically generates this much reaction whenever it happens. Because if you are newer to this fandom, you might be wondering why 2 grown men sharing a glance during a concert becomes international news within minutes. The answer is history, plain and simple. Jimin and Jungkook have one of the most extensively documented friendships in the entire group, stretching back to their earliest trainee days. And fans have spent years compiling everything from matching outfits worn on completely separate occasions, to identical gestures, to the countless times one member has openly stated how much he trusts or admires the other. There was even that widely circulated moment from Jimin's solo documentary years back, where Jungkook, after recording background vocals for one of Jimin's more personal, hidden tracks, expressed on camera how much he wanted to eventually perform that very song live with him one day. Fans held on to that clip for years, treating it like a promise, and now, watching them share stages again on this massive scale, watching Jungkook's ad-libs weave in and out of Jimin's vocals during an actual world tour, feels like watching that old promise slowly come full circle in real time. And if you go back through the years, this is not even close to the first time this exact duo has taken over headlines and timelines with a single unscripted moment. Longtime fans immediately started pulling up older clips for comparison, going all the way back to earlier tour stops in Las Vegas earlier this year, where the 2 of them were caught messing around playfully during the intro of one of their tracks, a moment that itself went viral for weeks and spawned countless fan edits, fan theories, and fan compilations dedicated entirely to cataloging every single Jikook interaction from that run of shows. Then there were the days later in that same Las Vegas leg where fans started referring to entire highlight reels simply as the Jikook version of the show, stitching together every glance, every synchronized step, every shared laugh into montages set to soft, emotional music. This has become such a consistent pattern over the years that entire fan accounts, and even dedicated channels, exist purely to track, catalog, and celebrate these moments whenever they happen, treating every new interaction as another chapter in a story that fans have been following for well over a decade now. It is also worth remembering just how far back this specific friendship goes, long before global stadiums and world tours were even part of the conversation. Fans often point back to Jimin's early solo era, specifically a widely circulated clip from his personal documentary, where Jungkook, after wrapping up background vocals on one of Jimin's more private, deeply personal hidden tracks, turned to the camera and expressed how badly he wanted to one day perform that exact song alongside him. At the time, that clip alone was enough to trend for days, with fans replaying it over and over, holding on to it as a kind of quiet promise between the 2 of them. Watching Jungkook now, years later, freely floating ad-libs over songs performed shoulder to shoulder with Jimin on some of the biggest stages in the world, feels like watching that old, small promise slowly unfold in real time. Except now it is happening in front of 82,000 screaming witnesses instead of a quiet recording booth. Back to the MetLife stage itself, because the visual spectacle surrounding all of this only made the emotional impact hit harder. This tour is built around a fully 360-degree in-the-round stage, meaning there is no true front row and no true back row. Every single fan in that stadium gets an equally incredible view of the performance no matter which direction they are facing. Combine that with a set list that leaned heavily into the group's new album material while still weaving in beloved classic hits, and you get a 2.5-hour show that barely paused for breath. The only real breaks in the momentum came when the members stopped to speak directly to the crowd, thanking ARMY over and over for showing up, for waiting, for believing that this reunion would eventually happen. And in between all of that spectacle, in between costume changes and pyrotechnics and choreography that had all 7 members moving as one unit, there was still room for these small, human, unscripted seconds between Jimin and Jungkook that ended up being some of the most talked about clips from the entire night. What makes this even more compelling from a storytelling perspective is the timing of everything happening around this exact stretch of BTS's schedule. Just weeks earlier, the group had been part of history at the World Cup final, one of the biggest global stages a musical act can possibly stand on, sharing that spotlight with genuine legends of the music industry. Then came the Grammy opt-out headlines, sparking a fan-led movement that dominated music news cycles for days. And sandwiched right in the middle of all of that chaos, all of that spectacle, all of that industry-level drama, was this quiet, sweet, deeply human moment between 2 members who have quite literally grown up in front of the entire world together. It is the kind of contrast that makes for incredible storytelling, because on one hand you have world stages, award show politics, and history making headlines, and on the other hand you have 2 friends sharing a laugh, sharing a glance, sharing a musical moment that only they fully understand the weight of. And honestly, this is exactly why this fandom stays so intensely engaged year after year, because moments like this prove, again and again, that underneath the massive scale of BTS as a global phenomenon, there is still real, lived, human connection driving everything forward. Jimin and Jungkook did not need a scripted moment, did not need a producer telling them to look a certain way at a certain time. They simply existed together on that stage the way they have existed together for over a decade, and the camera happened to catch it, and ARMY happened to notice immediately, and now it is spreading across every platform imaginable. This is the kind of clip that gets remixed into fan edits within hours, that gets slowed down frame by frame on fan accounts, that gets analyzed in group chats late into the night by fans comparing it to years of similar moments stretching all the way back to their earliest days as trainees. Now, thinking ahead, this MetLife run was only night 1 of 2, with a second show happening the very next night on August the 2nd, meaning there was already a second chance for even more of these moments to unfold before the tour packed up and moved on to Boston, and eventually to a 4-night stand at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles later this year. If night 1 delivered this much chemistry, this much unscripted charm, this much pure Jikook energy, it genuinely raises the question of what night 2 might have brought, and whether we are about to see even more clips like this surface as fans continue combing through footage from both shows. Because if there is one thing this fandom has proven time and time again, it is that they will not miss a single second of footage, will not miss a single glance, will not miss a single ad-lib that hints at the kind of bond these 2 have shared for over a decade now. And it is not just the fan accounts dedicated specifically to this duo that were reacting either, because general BTS fan pages, reaction channels, and even casual concert goers who filmed the show purely to document the experience for themselves ended up capturing these same moments almost by accident, which honestly makes the whole thing feel even more genuine. When a moment goes viral because a dedicated fan account zoomed in and slowed down footage, that is one thing. But when random attendees who were simply filming the show for their own memories end up capturing the exact same interaction from a completely different angle, unprompted, that tells you this was not some isolated perception. This was something that was actually happening clearly enough for casual observers to notice it too. Multiple angles of the same few seconds started circulating within hours, stitched together into side-by-side comparison videos, with comment sections absolutely erupting under every single version, every single upload, every single re-edit. Some fans in the comments were joking that MetLife Stadium should honestly just be renamed for the night, given how much history it has already witnessed involving this specific group, first hosting the halftime show just weeks earlier, and now hosting this. Others pointed out how surreal it is that a friendship this specific, this documented, this beloved, is still generating brand new viral moments after more than a decade of being in the public eye, proving that genuine chemistry simply does not fade with time the way manufactured moments tend to. A lot of longtime fans admitted openly in their posts that watching clips like this hits differently now, specifically because of everything the group has been through to get back to this exact point. Years of solo work, years of military service, years of uncertainty about when or if a moment like this would even happen again. And now here it is, unfolding in real time, captured from a dozen different angles, spreading across every platform within a matter of hours. It is also worth mentioning just how much the broader online conversation around BTS has been dominated lately by heavier, more serious headlines. Everything from award show politics to industry-level decisions that fans have had strong, passionate opinions about. Against that backdrop, a moment this light, this warm, this simply human, ends up carrying even more emotional weight than it might on any ordinary night. It becomes a reminder, a genuine palate cleanser in the middle of a news cycle that has otherwise felt heavy, that at the center of everything, underneath every headline and every industry conversation, there are still 7 people who have built real, lasting friendships with each other, friendships that show up naturally on stage without needing a script, without needing a producer's note, without needing anything beyond just being themselves in front of a crowd that loves them. So here is the bottom line, and I want you to really sit with this for a second before you go rewatch every clip from this show for the 10th time today. Jimin and Jungkook did not need fireworks, did not need a scripted duet moment, did not need anything beyond simply being themselves on that stage. And it was enough to send an entire fandom into an absolute frenzy. It was enough to dominate trending topics. It was enough to remind millions of people around the world exactly why this specific friendship has captivated fans for over a decade straight. Whether you have followed Jikook for years, or you are just now discovering why this duo generates so much reaction, one thing is undeniable after watching this MetLife performance. Their chemistry is real, it is unmatched, and it is not going anywhere anytime soon. If this video gave you even a fraction of the chills I got putting it together, make sure you are subscribed so you never miss the next moment this incredible group gives us. Because if this tour has already delivered this much emotion after just one night, I genuinely cannot wait to see what comes next. And if you have your own favorite Jikook moment from over the years, drop it in the comments below, because I guarantee this community can talk about this friendship for hours and never once run out of things to say. Let me know down there which specific clip from this show hit you the hardest, whether it was the vocal ad-lib, the backstage exchange, or simply the way these two kept finding each other throughout the entire 2.5-hour set. And I will see you in the next video, where we're going to keep digging into everything happening across this incredible world tour.